All very good morning. Sorry for joining late, and this will be the last day where we'll be joining late. That's my promise. From next class, we'll be having the classes 8. We'll be starting at 8:05 and we'll be continuing till 9:10. That is something which are not going to break it. I could see that many of them are not joining because of the time constraints. I can say it's 9:15 or 8. Yes, 8. Many people were joining. I'm not sure how it goes because in last class also many of them haven't turned up. So what to do? I'm not getting. So let's see if I just continue this lecture and that will be a backlog for others who are not going to join. I'm not sure how many of them are going to recording sessions. Let's do one thing. Let me have a discussion today on the things which will be covered, which we might be not covering in this entire journey, so that will be an added advantage for each and every individual. Okay, let's discuss some problem statements in data transforms. Okay, the data transforms part 4 will be covered anyhow on Monday. I will be not covering it today. But as an added feature, let's discuss some scenario questions which will be definitely helping each and every individual. That is something which I can take it today. Let me share my screen and yes. So let's consider situation. So we are discussing some scenario questions today. Let me let me know if you're able to see my screen. Able to see it? So in the data transforms lecture yesterday we have discussed about one of the key attributes or the key indexes that we have it, that is we have append, we have last, we have prepend. I hope I'm recording the session right. Yeah, okay, we have different indexes that we have it. We have seen for employee list, either you can give it as 1 2 3, then we have given last, we have used append, and we have used prepend. Now consider a situation where I'm going to discuss a simple thing. So there comes a question saying that we are in the class, which class? We are in the class of Meghalaya Loan App Work Meghalaya app. So we are in this class context. Now tell me, if I want to call another data transform, this is one of the question asked in interviews very frequently. They'll ask you saying that how to call a data transform from one data transform. That we can do that, right? So you can just click on this plus icon. If I just go to this place, we can see apply data transform. The apply data transform, you can call other data transform, and you could see that all the data transforms which are there inside this class context and also in below layer. Below layer in the sense Meghalaya Loan App Work, Meghalaya Loan App. And you can also call data transform from Meghalaya Loan App Work, Meghalaya Loan App, and Meghalaya. So you can follow this architecture or hierarchy to call any other data transform. That is very clear for us. But what if? So this apply data transform helps to call a data transform from one data transform to other data transform. Yes, this is fine, well and good. Now let's understand the question saying that this was a normal question, but there comes a tricky question saying that how to call a data transform which is not present in this class. Let's suppose I have a data transform in work class. Let's go to this app explorer. I'm not in this class context. If you see, my class context is this one, work, right? So what if I'm having a data transform in this data layer? In this data layer, I don't think so we have created any data transform. Let me create a simple data transform for now. Just saying in data employee, I'm having one data transform. So suppose this is a class, I'm creating one data transform. So I'm keen about scenario questions today. I'm just create and open. You could see one my data transform got created. I'm just saving this one or not doing any modifications. Okay, I will just do one thing. Don't do anything here. Just commenting here. I'm saving this one. Okay. So I've created one data transform that is in test data DT. This is the data transform and belongs to class of data employee. Belongs to class of data employee. Now, if I go back to this place, how to call that test data DT here? Tell me, provide your thoughts. If I see here, if I want to call any other data transform, if I just click, you could see my class context is Meghalaya Loan App, work Meghalaya Loan App. But I want to call this data transform, which is in the class context of data employee. Now tell me how we can call that data transform. If I say test data DT, if I save, what you will be getting. And I call it like this. It says that invalid value for data transform name passed to the assembler. Target rule obj model instance not found. It says that we are not able to find the instance. Though instance is present, though instance of the data transform is present in rule obj model, it says that we are unable to find the instance. The reason being, this is checking in this class hierarchy. This is the class hierarchy that is preferred to check. But I want to call this data transform which is there in the data layer. Now tell me how you are going to call it. So write it down saying that whenever you are in the context, I am in the context of this one, I am in the context of this work. If you want to refer any properties of any other class instance, or if you want to call any data transform which is of different class context, or if you want to use a page list or a page group or a value list or a value group which are not from the same class context but of different class context, then go ahead and use the concept of update page. You need to define a temporary page in pairs and classes. That is something which you need to do. I'm just saying that. So we have this test temp page, right? So temp page is already present. We have this temp page belonging to this data employee class. And if you could see here, test data DT is the class of this data employee. So define a page that belongs to this class context. We have defined it. We have anyhow have this temp page. Now go to this place. Don't directly apply data transform. First, we need the context of that class. Not to get the class context of that class, just click on update page. Now we need to provide an update page here. Select which page. I am selecting temp page because my data transform presents in the temp page class context. Now just click on apply data transform here. If I click apply data transform here, when I click down arrow, you could see my class context changed to data employee. If I save this one, will it allow me to save it? It allowed me to save. This is a direct interview question where you will be asked in order to test whether you have a real-time knowledge in data transforms or not. They will ask you this way saying that I want to call a data transform which is not in the same class. So let's consider this is the data transform which is present in A dash B dash work dash C. And I want to call a data transform which is there in A dash B dash data dash C. How you are going to call it? And many of them will directly say that we can use this feature of apply data transform. No, apply data transform feature will not directly work. Will not directly work. So in order to use that, as mentioned, you need to go with update page of this temp page, then call the apply data transform. This is the important question. Okay. Now let's understand the other important aspect. There comes the question. So we haven't touched upon decision tables and decision trees. But yes, you will be asked the question saying that how to call a decision table or how to call a decision tree from data transform. How to call them? Do we have any action specified to call that transform? No. Do we have any do you have any action? If you see here, we have discussed all these actions. We have discussed these actions, right? But any in these actions, do you have any specification here saying that to call a decision table or decision tree? Ideally, I'm not able to find anything here. But yes, you will be asked the question saying that how to call a decision table from data transform. But in activity, you have a direct method. Property map decision table, property map decision tree. That is a method that you have it in activity. You can directly use that. But if I want to call it in decision table and decision tree, remember that this is one of the important aspect that you need to remember that whenever you're not able to find anything in this action method, then think of the other alternative. The other alternative should be functions. Function. So what is a function? So functions are of different types. So function is nothing but if I want to perform something, if there is no direct connection that is established in Pega, there is no direct connection that we have it here. But if you want to have an indirect relationship that you can do it with the help of functions. So what does that mean? If you just search obtain values, I'm just searching with obtain values. And if you search here, obtain value, yes. So if you see here, there's a function, decision table obtain value. Decision table obtain value and decision tree obtain value. I'm telling you once again, if there is no direct relationship that we can establish, what does that direct relationship mean? I don't have any methods here Or I can't directly use as pairs and classes with defining other page. No, that is not possible if I want to call a decision table or decision tree. But for that, in order to solve that issue, we just need to use a function. So functions are the predefined values inside Pega, which are created by Pega itself, or if that function is not present, you can create your own function. Function is nothing but that is a prompt that will be already present inside the Java step. If I open this decision table, obtain values, this is a function, and each and every function, if you see, this is belongs to rule set of Pega rules. This is which Pega created it in the backend. It contains the Java step. It contains the Java step. This is the Java step that they have used. So this is a Java compilation that will happen in background. I'm just calling this function, which requires me to pass step page, decision table name, boolean or allow missing properties. If you're allow missing properties, more about this lecture we'll be talking about in decision tables and decision trees about this allow missing properties. But yes, if I want to call a decision table or decision tree inside a data transform, we'll be using a method called obtain values. And whenever you are having any doubt of how to pass it, open any one of this function, go to actions, click on view references. When you click on view references, you could see that at all these places, this decision table is referred. And my main focus is to understand with respect to data transform, not with respect to activity. Open any one of this. I just tried opening the last one. And if you could see here how they have used this decision table. So they are setting to a property called py node level icon with the help of this function. So this is how you need to write a function. I'm calling decision table. How I'm calling it? I'm calling it with the help of one function that is obtain values. If you want to call it this, the way that you need to pass is like this. At the rate Pega rules decision table dot obtain values tools primary. This is the class context that it should go. And this is the decision table name. This is the decision table name. If you want, you can just search with this one, close it. And if I search with this one, you could see my decision table name is present. If I open this one, so this is the decision table. In the decision table, you could see that depending upon the conditions, I am getting one value. That is the return. So whatever the value that I'm getting as written, I'm appending that value to which one? To py node level icon. Again, we'll be working on this concept little deeper when we understand about decision tables and decision trees. But yes, if I want to call a decision table or decision tree, what is the way that you are going to think of? You need to tell that I will be calling a function that is obtain values that will take the parameters as the class context decision table name. Okay, this is how you need to remember it. Similarly, the way that we are calling the decision table, you can also call decision tree. Just search with obtain value again. If I search with obtain value, you could see that we have decision tree obtain value. This is how you will be calling a decision tree. Clear? Any questions till this point? Again, the discussion for today is more about scenario questions because I could see many of them haven't joined yet. We'll be discussing the data transform part 4 on Monday for sure. Okay. So yes, we have covered this one, right? Now, let's understand the other question. I hope you guys are writing this question. I want everyone to write it down. If not, if you are missing to write it down, I'll try to collaborate all those information and I will be sharing the document to you. Okay, calling a data transform, which is another class, calling a decision table and calling a decision tree. Yes, this is done. Now let's understand. I have a requirement in the data transform, and till this point, what are the things that we have discussed so far? With respect to that, I will be talking about the requirement. If you see here, we are having a page list, right? So we are having a page list information present. I'm having a page list information where the person says that I need to append. So whatever the information that you have it, I'm just saying it by just two actions run. I'm running this one and I got this page list information and you could see that employee list repeating index of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we have different employees, right? Now the question says, so we need to discuss about one concept that we have it in data transform in order to cover those concepts. Because so let's consider I have a requirement which says that inside this one we have only defined employee ID employee ID. We have employee email for third one. So let's provide what thing. We'll provide employee ID for each and every person because we could see for the third record is not having employee ID. Okay, first we'll build one page list with all the information so that we can try to manipulate that one. So employee list of three we have it. Employee list of three contains employee ID. Then we have used prepend anywhere. Okay. I'm just giving it as 30. I'm giving some random value here. Okay. Okay. This update page it says that this cannot be blank. I'm disabling this step. Okay. This is not needed for now. Save it and I'm just running this one. Okay. Now do we have all this information? Yes. We could see that for employee list of one we have employee ID. For employee ID one we have it. So for each and every record we could see that we have employee ID present. Now there comes a question saying that we are not sure where employee ID is present. If I'm not giving this value, let's consider I'm not providing you this raw data. You're not sure, right? So employee ID, so let's consider employee ID 2. This employee ID 2 is present at index of 5 and I'm not sure whether that is present at 5 or not until and unless I open and view it. So there comes a question saying that I have a page list which contains 7 records. We have 7 records, which means that I am having 7 results. Okay. So whenever an employee ID value is 2, I need to get that index. I need to get that index, which means that whenever we have having employee ID equals to 2, I need to get the index that is 5. I need to store that to some property. Okay. How you are going to do that? If you are having n number of pages, yes, we have n number of pages here. So whenever we are having n number of pages, I have a requirement which says that when employee ID equals to 2, when employee ID equals to 2, right? I need to get that index. Index is 5. I need to store that index. For now, I'm saying employee ID equals to 2. But later, I will pass it as a parameter. The next question, yes, we'll discuss later. But yes, it says that whenever employee ID equals to 2, I need to get the index of that exact condition that met. Now tell me how we are going to write this. And in terms of, let's understand it more simpler way. I'm just taking this screenshot here. Got my question? Let me rephrase that question once again. Copy this. Right. Now see, my question is that the question says, the question is very simple. Let me write a question here. Okay. Okay. So we are going to discuss all these questions today. First, understand this question. I'm having this question. So for this page list, okay, I'm just writing this question here. So what is this question? We have it, okay. Able to see this? I hope this is clear, right? What the question which says here? The question says, I need to plug in this one. Right. So if you see here, this says I have a requirement. There is a page list as employee list. Now we have this employee list, right? So we're having this employee list. I'm providing you the sample data left side also. I have a requirement. There is a page list as an employee list. So if you consider this is my page list, which contains list, that page list we have 7 records. How many records we have it? We are having 7 records, right? Now it says I need to get the index of the page list where the customer ID equals to 2. This is the question, right? What is the index of this page list when customer ID equals to 2? So employee ID. So customer ID or employee ID. Employee ID is 1 here, 0 here, 30 here. This we have 2. So if we are talking about this one, for this condition, what is my index? My index value is 5. So I need to display 5 value that can be set to any property. You got my question? Is my question clear? Any doubts before we begin how we are going to achieve this one? Okay. So let's consider for any page list, if you are talking about entire structure of any page list, remember this point. If you are talking about the entire structure of page list and whatever the value that is needed, if that value is present at some place, right? Some place. So I need to check it, and for that we need to work on. If there is a C language, how many of you know about C, C++? So don't worry if you don't about this one also, the logic remains same. The C language, what we usually do, so we'll say that for loop, which we say that for I equals to 0, I less than maximum value. So this maximum value will be this maximum value. I will be doing I plus plus, or we can say from I, for I equals to 1, I less than or equals to max. What we are doing inside this one, we'll be checking when, or we have this if I'm just saying dot employee ID, if that is equals to 2, if that is equals to 2, I will be printing this I value, just I value, right? So whenever that is equals to 2, I'll just say scanf percentage t comma and I. So I'm going to display this and I. And I is nothing but this I value. Similarly, understand it. So the coding language might differ. The coding language might differ, but the understanding of the things will remain same. So if I want to do something with respect to some details that we have it, I am using for loop because for this page list, I need to loop entire the page list. So there comes the picture of using a method called for each page in. For each page in. So we are having a page list. I'm checking inside each and every page, and I will check a condition that when employee ID is equals to 2, then which value I need to return? Which value here too I am having I value. But in Pega, what is that value we are going to return? That is something which are going to see it on the tracer. I'm not going to reveal it now. I hope this question is clear for you, and this is a direct interview question which says that whenever you are having any page list, the requirement might change, but the context remains same. If there is any question that is coming with respect to page list and a condition, then it's very important that you're going with you're going with the method called for each page in. For each page in. Now let's jump back to this place. I'm just going to this one. So we are having all this information now. Let me go ahead and plug in that feature. I'm going to add a sibling below. I'm just saying for each page. So what is my page in? For each my page in, it accepts either a page list or a group. And yes, this question might be silly for you. And this is a question which says that For each page in, what are the sources that it will accept in for each page in? Many of them will say it is a page list, but yes, you forget to tell it is also a page group. It can also accept a page group. Page group, yes, for each page in is not related to only page list, but yes, that is also related to page group. And I'm reiterating this once again. Yes, page group, you can pass a page group whenever you're looping it. If I just do down arrow, you could see that we have work party, right? So work party is a page group. Again, I haven't discussed in detail about page group. I will be discussing it on Monday, where I will show you how to pass a page group for each page in. Now we have which one? I have this employee list. I am looping inside this employee list. Now tell me, this is very important. I have a when condition. If you remember that, I need to validate, right? Whenever I'm looping it, I'm looping inside this one. I'm looping it inside this one, but I need to check a condition where employee ID is a condition, right? So if I go back to this place, for each page in, I need to check a when condition. And this when part, if you remember that, we have covered this when lecture on day before lecture. When dot employee ID, this is my employee ID. I'm copying this employee ID. Will it work if I am not selecting this allow use each page as source context? What is the importance of this use each page as source context, which we are going to discuss right away? If if I'm selecting this one is equals to 2. Right. So when employee ID equals to 2, I need to set to something, right? So let's consider whenever you are inside a loop, whenever you're inside a loop, a OOTB property of Pega will be comes into picture. That property we call it as py for each count. That is a parameter that will helps you to give a clear understanding of which loop you are into. For now, let's consider. I'm just doing set. Do I have any property? I'll just say py value. Py value label no. Yeah, let's say py note. To which value I need to set? I need to get whenever the condition is met. Whenever that condition is met, I want to set that to a property, right? The index property, right? So tell me, there are two changes that I need to do here. If I talk about this one, what is the exact value that I need to set here? For now, what I'm doing, I'm just going to set it as ABC because I'm not sure what needs to be set. I'm just setting it as ABC. Let's do one thing. If I just trace this one, actions run, trace this one, understand if you're not clear of what needs to be done, try to turn on the tracer by giving some random value so that this Z transform will not have any error. Now, yes, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm working on this for the first time. I'm the fellow member of you also working. I don't know anything here. I'm just running this one. So I ran it. And if I just go to the tracer, right? If I expand this one, you could see that. You could see that whenever this employee ID equals to 2, before I execute this one on run record primary page dot employee list contains the information of all the employees. If I just keep this like this, I'm just going to keep it here. Understand? Now, I hope this is clear. Is it visible? I want your responses. Feel free to talk, please.
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible only for one person. Okay, don't mind. So yes, so if you see here, we are starting the for loop. For each page in run record primary page dot employee list, and this employee list, I have kept it on the right side. So we have employee list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Right? The first condition for the first record dot employee ID equals to 2. What is my employee ID for the first record? I'm in the first page. For each page in, we'll loop through each and every page. Now I'm in the first record dot employee list. My employee ID value equals to 0. So is 0 equals to 2? No, that is false. Now I'm entering into the next one. So I'm going into the next loop, that is employee list of 2. In employee list of 2, my employee ID is 1. So 1 equals to 2. Again, that is false. 1 not equals to 2. Now I'm going to employee ID 3. Employee ID 30. Is 30 equals to 2? No. Now I'm going to employee list of 4. 4 is not having employee ID. Again, that is evaluated to false. The fifth one, you could see employee list of 5. Employee ID equals to 2. My 2 equals to 2, it returned to true. So if you see, my first thing is false, second thing is false, third is false, fourth is false, and at fifth one, it returned to true. Fifth one, it returned to true because fifth value is having employee ID equals to 2. This is very clear. And whenever if you see for each and every record, this is one of the important aspect, please write it down. For each and every loop that the for each will do, we have I equals to, right? If I just go back to this place, we have I equals to 1, I less than max. This is something which we have defined in C. But in Pega, you are not setting any parameter. I'm not setting I equals to 1 or I less than equals to max. I'm just using this for loop. I'm just using a for loop. And what this for loop is doing for me? This for loop is checking each and every entry. Whenever a for loop is initiated, in backend, Pega will execute one counter value. If you click on this place, if you click on any standard or if you click on any place, go to unnamed page. If you see, my primary page name is on the first element, right? On the first element. And if I go to unnamed page, what is this value that you are finding it here? Py for each count. So py for each count is an attribute, that is a parameter that is initiated by Pega whenever a for loop is getting initiated. So we will be getting a question. So all these questions are direct interview questions. So we'll say you, what is the unnamed property that is present by that is defined by Pega whenever you are starting a for loop? So whenever it is a loop, it can be inside an activity, or it can be inside a data transform, or it can be at any place or anywhere, right? Whenever you're looping something, that loop will start from 1, and that value which holds that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 is a value that we call it as py for each count. So suppose now if I close this one, you could see that this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. So third one, if I just click on this third one, if I'm clicking on this third one, what will be my expectation on py for each count? It should be 3. It is 3. So py for each count value is 3 here. So whenever the condition is met, so when the condition got met, my condition got met here at 3. If I click at this 232 and you could see that my py for each count value is holding how much? 5. That is 5. So how I can use this value? You can directly plug in this value whenever the condition is met. So whenever a condition is met, we have used set py note, right? So set py note value, I'm setting it to ABC. If I just click on this value on run record primary page, you could see that ABC value, where that ABC value got inserted in employee list of 5, my py note value set to ABC. I'm setting this value, but I'm setting inside this employee list of 5. I don't need to set it on employee list of 5. I need to set it on the primary context. I need to set it on this work level. This is something which we are going to discuss in some time. But yes, instead of py not ABC, I need to have my value that is py for each count. So what to do that? So now go back to that place. I'm just going back to this place. So whenever a condition is met, I want to set this py note value instead of ABC, param dot py for each, spelling should be correct. Param dot for each count. It's true. Now just run this one. Run it again. Turn on the tracer, back to basics. This is a basic thing which I recommend everyone to do every time that you run in any activity or data transform. Do run it. Before we go back to that place, do you find anything here? My py node value is set to 5 for this fifth index, right? You can go back to the tracer again. The tracer also, you could see that first value is false, second is false, third is false, fourth is false, and fifth one returned to true, right? Fifth one returned to true, and this value, I'm setting it here, dot py node value, I'm setting it to 5. Now we are modifying the question. My py note value, which I'm setting it here, that should not be on the employee list of my. What I will do with that? I need to get out of that loop and I need to place it on this work layer. I want to have that property on work layer. What are the property that we have it here? Why I need to have this py note on the employee list of my? It is not needed. I want outside of that loop. Now tell me how we are going to modify the code. I just close this here. So whenever that got evaluated to true, you're setting inside the context of data class. You're setting inside the context of data class. What does that mean? If I close this one, close this here. If you see here, if I click down arrow, it is taking the context of data, Meghalaya Loan App data employee, right? I don't want in the context of Meghalaya data loan. I want to set it once the loop is completed. So I want to set on the work context. Add sibling below. I want to set it here. I want to set it here. Or is there any other way? Is there any other way? If we are in the loop, so if you are in the employee list, this is in the class context of data class, but I want to set this py note on the context of work Meghalaya loan app. I can do it in two different ways. The first way, I can do it like this. The first way, instead of storing it in py note, just set it in param.note. Param.note will take care of this param.py for each count. And once the loop is completed, just search py note here. You have py note for each and every instance of class. It can be data class, it can be work class, it can be any other class context, it can be integration class also. Anyhow, you'll be taking the py note. Now I'll set this py note with this param.note. This is the first way. This is the first way. I'm just running this one. Now turn on the tracer, close the tracer that you are having it previously opened. Close this one, turn on the tracer and click run. So if you see, did my py note value set it in employee ID? No, we don't have it, right? We don't have this value here. But if you see outside the class context, on the work class context, I could see my py note value is here. You can also check it from the tracer. Go back to the tracer. And here, if you see false, 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 and true, yes, the true got set. I'm just setting it to param.note. I'm setting this value to param.note. What are the py for each count value that we have it? That I'm setting it to param.note. This param.note, I can use it after the loop is completed also, right? So before you set this py note on this py for each page in, if I click on an unnamed page, my 7 loops got completed. So that py for each count value remained as 7, but my note value will remain same because whenever the condition got satisfied, then only I have set that value to note. My note value remains same as 5. Then what I am doing outside the loop is completed, I am setting this py note value. Now we could see my py note value will be set to 5. Any questions till this point? If you're having any questions, feel free to ask because this is one of the most frequently asked questions in data transforms. Trust me, questions are not in a direct way. If you are going to interview, trust me, I have seen more than 200 interviews in the past 3 months, and I'm telling you again and again, questions are not direct. They are not going to ask you what is for each page in. No, that question will never come to you. Even though you have 2 years experience or 3 years experience, that question will never come. That will be like a scenario question. They will say that consider a situation, consider a scenario. I have this requirement, I have that requirement. The question will come it like this. What my point? I'm reiterating all these things because this will definitely help you to understand whenever you get any questions of this kind. You may not get the direct question like this, but yes, the concept that you're going to learn will remain same, but not the question. I've said this py note. This is the approach which you have mentioned to that person, and he is satisfied and he says you, is there any other way? Is there any other way? I don't want to use parameter. I don't want to use this parameter. Tell me, is there any other way? Without using parameters, can I achieve that one? We can achieve it, right? So how is going to happen is that I'm not going to use this here. I'm going to disable this one. If you remember this one, I don't know anything in Pega. Let's consider I'm going to open ChatGPT. I'm going to open ChatGPT and I'm asking ChatGPT. So learn how to understand the things. Will ChatGPT help me here? I'm saying that I am in the context of data class using for loop in Pega. Now, whenever a condition is met, I need to store that index and set that value on the work layer, work class. My data transform, I'm just prompting everything is in work class and my page list which I am looping is in the context of data class. Tell me, I'm just asking ChatGPT, will it help me to get me the response? It says that you're looping on a page list that belongs to data class. This is true. But your data transform is in work class. This is also true. When a condition is met during the loop, you want to capture the index of the current page in the data class page list. Set the index onto a property. Is my question is clear? Did my ChatGPT understood the question clearly? If I go to this class, Pega, this is the approach which I are selling. I'm just looping over the data list. Assume your page list property in the work object is data list and its class. So it says that my page list property is data list and it's in the class of data, this one. Inside the loop, you can use px list subscript. It says that you can use this one to get the current index. Will it make sense? Okay, we'll see that. Now inside the loop, add a when condition. So this is condition which you added inside the when condition. I'm selecting this action. I'm setting this dot selected index is equal to this value, set value that they are setting it like this. Is will it solve my problem? Will it solve my problem? And yes, this will not solve my problem. Using the first approach, that will not solve the problem because you're setting it inside the page list again. This is something which you have seen, right? But if your loop is in data class context, this is very important. What is this meaning? Use primary keyword. Even Pega know that we can use this primary keyword because this active customer index is in work class. I want to set it in work class. But I am inside the data class, so it says that use primary keyword. If I go back to this place, you could see what is that condition. Whenever this condition is met, if I want to set it, but this taking the class context of data employee, I don't need it in data employee. I need the py node to be set on this work layer. So if you are in the context of some other class, and if you want to get the context of the main class, so if you consider this is my main class where data transform is defined, this is my main class. Understand, this is my main class which hold the property attributes which are there from the work layer. How? So if you see, if I'm adding a step here, if I just click dot, you could see what is my class context of the properties that is going to take. It is going to take me Meghalaya Loan work, right? So my properties are on the main class. So main class is nothing but the data transform where you have defined it. But if you see here, my employee list is taking the class context of data layer. So if you want to refer properties on the main class, if you are inside a data class or it can be any class, use a keyword called primary. Primary dot. Now what happened? Tell me. Primary dot. So primary has taken an advantage or privilege saying that it is going to get the class context of this main class. This is the main class. So that is the main purpose of using a primary keyword. So what is a primary keyword that we are having it? So consider you are inside an activity which is in work class and your loop is inside the data class. I want to store or set properties onto the main class. If I want to get the context of that main class, I need to call a keyword. That keyword I call it as a primary. Now I'm setting it as py node. Now py node, will it make sense? Yes, it is taking my class instance only. If I just save this one, will I get any error? I ain't got any error. Did I got any error? No. Close the tracer that you have it. No, I don't have any tracer. Just doing run. Click on trace, do run. See, my p not value set on the main class. So why to use unnecessary parameters? Think of a better way of coding. Don't blindly plug in parameters if that is not required. The first approach makes sense. Yes, whatever the first approach that we have done, that makes sense and that is the output that it has provided. But can we avoid that parameter? Yes, we can avoid it. But if you can avoid it on the basis that you know how to use a perfect keyword that we have it as primary. The reason why I'm discussing multiple approaches. First I will definitely discuss about an approach which will work, but that is not recommended. And the second approach I will discuss by giving you an insight of the first approach. Then only you will understand its value. That is very important, and that's the reason why I'm stretching this much time. I hope this is very clear. When to use a primary keyword? Whenever you're having two different class instances. I have defined my data transform in work layer. Now I am having a for loop which is in the data layer, but I want to set some properties again on the work layer. But you are inside the data layer. You can get the context of that work layer by defining a keyword called primary. You just need to call a primary keyword. Whenever you call that primary keyword, it will take the context of that above layer. Clear? Any questions? So we have understood that how a for each page in works. We have understood that how to get a condition specific index value and how to set that condition specific index value not on the data layer but on the above layer. Though this might not be the perfect use case, but yes, understand when to use primary, understand how this py for each count works, understand how a for loop works in a data transform. Clear? Does it make sense? Now go back. Let's jump on to follow up question. This is done. My follow up question says that now the requirement got changed. I need to get index of page list not only for 2, but depending upon the requirement. So employee ID can be 2 or sometimes the employee ID can be changed. The person says that my employee ID value for now it is 2. For now it is 2, right? For now it is 2. Later I can change my employee ID value by giving it as 0 or by giving it as 1 or by giving it as 30 or I can give it as 3 or I can give it as 4. The question says my employee ID value is not fixed. That will change depending upon the value that the user is going to provide. Now how to do that? This employee ID I have outcoded it as employee ID equals to 2. This employee ID will be changing during the runtime. During the runtime I'm changing that employee ID. So just say param dot employee ID. And this param dot employee ID which I'm talking about, this employee ID, I'm checking, I'm passing it as a parameter. Done, na? You got my point? So user is searching that employee ID. This employee ID value now it is not fixed. No, this is not fixed. For now, I can give it as 2. Later, I can give it as 30. Later, I can give it as 0. If I'm giving it as 2, and if I click run, my pivot value is 5. Now later, I will change this employee ID to 30. And if I click run, I'm getting pivot value as 3. If I'm giving it as 1, now what will be my pivot? My pivot value is 2. And if I give it as 3, what is my pivot value? Pivot value is 6. You got my point? So understand it. First, try to plug in whenever you have a requirement. Try to understand it in simpler terms. Don't directly jump to this question. If you directly jump to this question saying that my employee ID, now the requirement got changed. So directly if you jump to this second question, you will be not going to reach or you're not able to going to satisfy your requirement. First try to plug in with respect to simple value. If that is satisfied and if you're getting the expected outcome, then you instead of hard coding it, pass it as a parameter. Pass it as a parameter. Clear? And this says insert a new property whenever a condition is met. This is very simple. No? So if you go back to this place, whenever a condition is met, which means that whenever a new condition is set, It says it try to insert a new property. Add sibling below. Insert a new property is nothing but you can insert any property. Let's consider I'm inserting this full name. Got my point. I'm inserting full name as ABC. I'm saving this one. So whenever a condition is met, I'm saying, so whenever a condition is met for this one, if I'm giving employee ID as 30, whenever the employee ID 30 is equal to true, at that index, I'm setting that full name as ABC. If you run this one, if you could see employee ID equals to 30, that got returned to true, and I'm inserting a new property whenever a condition is met as full name as ABC. And my pivot value is 3 because I am inside the loop of 3. You got my point? So whenever a condition is met, yes, a condition got met where employee ID equals to 30 and my full name, inserting a new property. I have inserted a new property called full name whenever a condition is met. Clear? Any questions? And coming to sort, I will not discuss it today. Sort, I will discuss it on Monday. The reason being, sort is aligned with one of the concepts that we're going to discuss with respect to scenario questions. Okay? Any questions till this point? So try to use ChatGPT also. And coming to this one, also use each page as source context. What does that mean? This is my source. This is my target. This is my source and this is my target. If I'm not selecting this one, let's consider I want to set this primary.py node value whenever this employee ID equals to param.employee ID. I need to set this py node value to that employee email. If I just go to this place, did I close this one? Okay, let me run this one. I'm saying whenever this condition got satisfied, when employee ID is satisfied, okay, let me take with employee email. So we have employee email for index 2. Let's consider I have a requirement which says that for 2, if employee ID, for if you see, I'm passing employee ID as 2, employee ID equals to 2 is there where at index of 5. Now I want to set this py node not to the index value, but I want to set this py node with this employee email information. I want to set this employee email information for this py node. I don't want to set this py node with index value, but I want to set this employee email information. Got my point? So whatever the value that we have at the fifth index of employee email, I want to set it for py node. How to do that? So if I close this one, if I don't select this option for now, and if I'm removing this one, if I click dot, you could see what is the class context that I'm into. My class context is of work layer, but I want to set dot employee email which is there in employee list. So whatever the records that you want to set, if I go to this place again, you could see my employee email is inside employee list, right? Is present inside this employee list and my employee list is in the class context of data layer, right? So here what you need to do, this is very important. So whatever the values or records that I am getting from employee list, I can use it as a source. I can use it as a source. If I enable this one as a source, allow use each page in a source context, and if I click down arrow, you could see my class context change it to data employee. So that is the most important aspect of Pega providing this feature to us. I can just set to employee email. So I'm setting whenever a condition is met, at that condition, whatever the employee email that I have it on that condition place, I'm setting it to primary.py node. If I'm not enabling this, if I'm unchecking this one and if I click save, you could see that I'm getting an error message. It says that this property is not present on work layer, but this property is present on data layer. And if I select this one, now I'm in the context of data class. And if I save it, I will not get any error. Now, if I run this one, actions to run and come into basics, I'm turning on tracer once again. I'm going to provide employee ID as 3. For employee ID equals to 3, you could see that my py node value changed to third at the rate g.c because whenever I'm providing employee ID equals to 3, for first one, employee ID equals 0, false, this is false, this is false, this doesn't have any value, this is false, and this is true. So whenever a condition is met, I want to use this employee email to be passed to PY note. That is something you can pass it. So that is the most important aspect of Pega, providing an option of use page as a source context. Clear? Any questions before we wrap the session? Understand the pointers. Understand the pointers. Understand the scenarios. Question is not coming directly. Trust me, the pattern will definitely change whenever you are in the interviews. Conceptual wise, what are the things that I have discussed inside the class will remain same, and if you have understood that very clearly, then the same concept can be applied for any number of questions. Okay. With that note, I am just will be wrapping the session today. If you are having any questions, any feedbacks, any concerns, feel free to reach out to me. I get you got a feedback survey from one of our fellow mates, okay, co-founder. You'll be getting a message. Please respond with your feedback. And yes, if you're not able to share it with me, at least share the feedback to the team. We'll be considering it as an opportunity to improve ourselves. If we are doing or if you're lagging anywhere, we'll be getting to know what things needs to be taken care for the next thing that we're going to expect. That's all for today. Thanks for joining. And from Monday, we'll be reconnecting at 8 a.m. without fail. The class will extend till 9:15. That is something which are going to do for the next 40 classes. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for joining. Have a great day. We'll see you on Monday. If you're having any questions, any feedbacks, any concerns, do reach out to me or in the group or to the team or to Meghana. Okay, that's all for today. Have a great day. See you on Monday. Take care. Bye bye.